House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has unveiled the Democrats' proposal for another COVID-19 relief package. This one is nearly $3 trillion, and it's 1,800 pages long, as Sean mentioned earlier. And guess what? The House is expected to return to Washington this Friday and vote on it. That's right, Friday, giving lawmakers less than a week to make a decision with taxpayer dollars. That's your money. The bill is expected to include $1 trillion for state and local governments, and that is roughly double Congress's spending so far. It would also send another round of direct checks to Americans. This time, it would deliver $1,200 for individuals, $2,400 for married couples, and $1,200 for each dependent, up to a maximum of 3. The House bill would also extend additional $600 a week in enhanced unemployment benefits, which is supposed to be expired in July. It would be extended now through January. And the bill would expand stimulus payments to previous groups that were excluded, dependents over the age of 16, and some individuals who don't have a Social Security number. Meanwhile, Democrats in both the House and the Senate have rejected talks offering additional legal protection to businesses. And top Senate Republicans say the proposal is dead on arrival, calling it an empty, unrealistic publicity stunt. Well, we have a lot to talk about, so here is our company, host of the Michael Knowles Show, Michael Knowles, and Senior Policy Director at the Conservative Partnership Institute and Republican strategist Rachel Bovard. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, this bill, as Lindsay and I have mentioned, is 1,800 pages. And I noted earlier that if you read this a minute a page, it's going to take you 30 hours. So it's pretty obvious that no one's going to read it. We've seen what's happened in the previous bills. The Democrats are now saying that this is a messaging bill. What message is this sending? Look, I want to take care of people. I'm sure you want to take care of people. There's a lot of people that are hurting, both economically and in a lot of cases health-wise. I don't get this. One of the things that was listed in there is make sure you don't need a Social Security number anymore to get help. What message are the Democrats trying to send? Because I don't think this is compassion. This is stupidity. Michael?
I think you hit the nail on the head, Sean. This is a messaging bill. It's not so much a spending bill as it is a fundraising letter. They're trying to send a message. Nancy Pelosi is trying to speak to Democrats around the country and get them to raise money for Democratic candidates because they present a wish list to them of left-wing proposals of bailing out bad left-wing governance in states like California and New York. And it's just not going to happen. It is dead on arrival. It's not a serious proposal. And the one downside of this message, I think, for Democrats is it reminds us that the only way that we're actually going to be able to recover, to put food on people's tables, to put money in people's pockets, is to reopen the economy. And we can do that carefully and we can do it slowly. But that's the only way. There's no amount of federal spending that's going to fix this problem for us.
Yeah, and when you look at the last time that we passed a bill, it had a lot of pork in it. You think of the Kennedy Center, Harvard, Ruth's Chris, all these things that were coming out, these people's pet projects. And so, Rachel, my question to you is, how do we make sure that doesn't happen again? Who is analyzing this to say, hey, these things aren't in there? When it's 1,800 pages long and you only have a few days to review it, can we know that there aren't these pork things in there?
We can't. And I think one of the interesting things about how we got here is, remember, the House is not in session. The members are far-flung all over the country. So who's writing this bill? It's not the members, it's the staff. And so they're basically putting in all this pork, hoping no one notices. And this is why we ended up with provisions for banking for the marijuana industry, more grants for the National Endowment for the Arts, in addition to a host of other things like biohazards for animals and wildlife, like all of these things that have absolutely nothing to do with the targeted and temporary relief that Americans need. And so I think, Senate Republicans are right to say this is dead on arrival. It's completely unserious, but it also should trouble us because these are Democrat priorities. This is what they want. They want to fundamentally transform how we do elections in this country, give amnesty to thousands and millions of illegal immigrants. All of that is in this bill. So this is a playbook for how they're going to go forward.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. The idea that they're not here. They're going to get jammed on this. No one's going to read it. And then we're going to be spending the next 3 or 4 weeks trying to figure out how we got ourselves into a mess with a bunch of people. One of the things, Michael, that's apparently tucked in the bill, and I can't say that it is or isn't because I haven't read it like anyone else, but they talk about bailing out local media organizations, because remember the issue that happened with a lot of these companies, because they were subsidiaries that they didn't qualify. So a local, organization that was part of a bigger company didn't, and because a lot of media organizations are part of bigger organizations, they didn't qualify. Now they're being told that they're going to help out. Do you think that this is the appropriate way to take care of the media?
It's endless. I mean, we think that the media in this country are too cozy with politicians to begin with. This probably isn't going to help their reputation. This was a bit of a problem in the initial stimulus bill and the recovery bill, is that these smaller organizations that were tied to larger ones couldn't get funding. But an additional $3 trillion spending package isn't going to do that. It's politically going to look disastrous, speaking of the messages the Democrats are trying to spend. But it also simply won't work. There isn't enough money. The money printing machine does not work well enough to buy us 3 more months, as the mayor of LA wants, or 6 months, or 2 years, or whoever knows what they want. The way to get the media first of all, the way to get the media working is for them to have more credibility than they currently do. And the way to get the rest of the economy going is to open up and get working again.
Rachel, we only have 1 minute left, but aren't we going about this the wrong way? It's almost like we're saying, here's a check to these states. Do whatever you want with it, instead of saying, give us an itemized list so we can see what you need and how you're going to spend it, and giving some responsibility to them, saying you can't just have an open blank check, essentially.
Yeah, the accountability for how these funds are spent is something that's completely missing from all of these proposals, but it's a key feature. You know, every state looks different. Every state's needs are different. Some states have been very responsible in this regard, and some states have not. And yet the ones who are not are turning to the American taxpayers and saying, you know, bail us out, help us with our underfunded pension liabilities, things that have nothing to do, again, with addressing the needs from the coronavirus crisis. So a lot more prudence, a lot more thoughtfulness, and just plain reading the bill is needed, I think, before we can move forward with any of this.
I think you're exactly right. Thank you both for your input and breaking this all down with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, stick around. We've got a lot more to discuss. Sean and I will give you our take on the special elections in Wisconsin and California and what it might mean for the presidential election. And later, music legend Larry Gatlin is here. You won't want to miss him.